Welcome to this week's Tharstern Techchat. I'm pleased to be joined today by one of our solution specialists, Phil Dodge. Hi, Phil. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, guys.
So, Phil, I've got a really good question for you today, which I'm sure a lot of businesses will be interested to know about. But cash is king always, but in the current climates in particular, it is. So the question is, how do we ensure that a job doesn't get, or an order doesn't get shipped or dispatched to a customer that has perhaps exceeded the credit limit or been put on stop by accounts? How do we make sure that that's communicated and it doesn't accidentally get sent out to someone?
Well, that's a great question. Unfortunately, we've got a very good answer because
cool.
Tharstern actually has direct links to accounts packages, so that basically we can identify the touch points at estimating, job creation, delivery or shipping, and also if we're raising a sales order, so that we can identify that and therefore mitigate against that place within inside the actual business.
Yeah.
So what I can do is I can show you that by just firing up a quick video. And in this particular case, what we're going to do is show you an integration to Sage 100 for all those customers out in the North American territories. And I'm just going to fire that up like so. And what we can actually see is that we're actually in Sage and we've gone to the accounts receivables here. And you can see that we can actually either access this information through customer inquiry or customer maintenance, depending on the level of access we want to give a specified user. But what this allows us to do is basically open up the customer account, and we can actually associate specific flags against that customer account. Specifically, we can actually identify whether it's going to be on stop or what its current credit limit is. And you can see that in this particular case, I'm just searching for a particular customer, in this case, Burger King. And we can actually select that particular account, and you'll notice in the bottom right hand corner there we've got the account actually on hold, and we've got a credit limit of $100 associated to it. And we can do a similar type of process with the vendors as well for purchasing purposes. So that's basically the customer account within inside the Sage application here. But all I'm going to do is just move the video forward a couple of seconds here, and we can actually go straight into the Tharstern environment. So when we come in and we initially start to do an estimate, of course, it might be very important at this particular stage to identify those particular touch points, i.e. has the customer been on stop or exceeded its credit limit. And you'll notice here that it has identified that the customer is actually on stop. But in this particular case, we can continue doing the estimating, although it might reprioritize whether we should actually do this estimate first or not. So basically you can remove those little pop-ups if you don't wish your estimators to actually see those. So that's entirely up to the settings you put inside the Tharstern system. And as you can see here, I'm just going to continue the process of actually raising the actual estimate, selecting a manufacturing solution. I choose the cheapest solution at the top there, and then basically I'm going to confirm this particular estimate, and we're going to convert this into a job. I won't bother actually outputting an estimate letter. So you can see that I'm now actually going to create the job from that specified estimate. And at this particular point, again, it's doing a communication, identifying it's on stop. And I have to put in as the user a set of credentials, a username and a password, which obviously relates to the accounts package. So it's a different set of credentials.
Okay. So this isn't a Tharstern password or the Sage password. It's a specifically created username and password to authorize it.
Correct. And then we can also see that it's because it's exceeded the credit limit as well. In order for me to bypass this, and you can see it's publishing that credit limit of $100 and then outstanding transactions within inside the Tharstern environment, I have to actually put in a username and password, which again in this case is identical, in order to actually bypass this touch point, which I may not be given authorization to do so. But in this particular case, I have got that authorization from the business to make a valid decision. But should I go into denial mode, you'll notice in the ribbon bar, there is in the information section, there is actually an audits button, and that will log that I've actually bypassed those two touch points. So you know on what date and time and which user has actually bypassed those.
Okay, excellent.
Now we can also see in the options that we have the ability to actually transfer customers and vendors to and from the actual account package in this particular case. And that's because it's also possible that Burger King may not have existed initially inside the actual Sage database, i.e. in the customer database. So we could push that data into Sage if we wanted to do so. Now you also notice I produced the job and I'm now going through the shipping routine. So I'm just doing a single ship at this particular point in time. But as soon as I do that, again, it's identifying it's on stock, because there's always the possibility that everything was okay at estimating and job stage, but the financial situation has changed when we come to actually do the shipping. And again, you can see that I am being forced to actually put in a username and password in this particular case in order to actually initiate that shipping process. So what we're doing here is we're putting in a break to prevent obviously sending those goods and services out without the customer paying for them. Now the last part to this obviously is we're coming into the situation where we're raising a sales order, which could be, you know, a manual sales order, and at this point in time it's also identifying that the customer is actually on stop. So this is particularly useful to prevent obviously selling you know, finished goods products to a particular customer. And then the final point we're also looking at is raising the invoice, and again it's identifying if the account is actually on stop, just so that we're aware of those details. And this again can be quite a valid thing that we actually want to identify for a variety of different reasons. So there's, as we can see there's a multiple touch points in order for us to actually basically process that, and then ultimately, as you can see here, we're actually posting the actual invoice transaction into the actual ledgers. So hopefully what you can actually see from this is that we can actually prevent potential bad debts by monitoring at estimating, job creation stage, sales order creation stage, and obviously at the invoicing stage as well. So hopefully you can see that we've got some pretty, you know, valuable integration work actually taking place there. And that's really the end of the demo, really, to be honest.
Brilliant, thanks Phil, you've answered that question really well. But as you rightly said, not only can we put the brakes on at the shipping stage, but at various other stages prior to that as well, and after that as well, to communicate that information across the business. So I'm sure that would be a very useful tool to lots of businesses to share that information, especially in environments where people are now working remotely as well, and departments aren't always necessarily together. So yeah, cool, thank you very much for that, really appreciate the answer. I hope you've found that useful. Everybody who's watched, if you have any questions about it, then please drop in the comments below, and if you have any questions that you'd like us to answer in the Tharstern Tech Chat, then please let us know and we'll try our best to answer them for you as well. Have a great day everyone, and thanks for joining.